I kind of want to know what you're looking forward to most this preseason.
Miami! To mission control, we have liftoff. Phinhub! Phinhub! We talking Dolphin City! Phinhub! Yeah! It's that Dolphin Show!
Well, there's a lot to be excited about, right? So I have a few things, but I guess we'll go ahead and talk about it. Thing I'm looking forward to most is seeing who's going to take over that 4th spot at wide receiver. You know, we got a pretty nice group there. Obviously, we know the top 3 in Tyreek Hill, Jaylen Waddle, OBJ. So I really want to see if maybe Ezukanma can take that spot, man. From a talent standpoint, from just being completely different from those other guys and what he can provide for you. That's the guy I want to see. Is there anyone that you would like to see maybe step ahead of him, or
no? I'm most curious to see Ezukanma too, just because I think what he adds is going to be so different from everybody else. He's that guy with length, a guy that we saw early on last season being used in that Deebo Samuel role that we've talked so much about this offseason. And it's going to be fun to see what he could bring in the preseason and whether or not they're going to start experimenting on some plays, swinging the ball out to him. So I'm really looking forward to see what he can bring to the Dolphins.
Yeah.
If there's a guy outside of that to possibly take that 4th spot at receiver, it's going to be Malik Washington.
Yes. All right, cool.
In the slot. And
do you think it's just us that are thinking this, or do you think like we're speaking for all Dolphins fans right now? Right?
No, I think Mike McDaniel was the one who brought it up. Obviously, he's the guy that really wanted to draft him. And seeing how excited he was to pick up a guy like Malik Washington, that's the reason why I'm super excited to see him, because we saw how excited he was to bring on a guy like Devon Achane. I know Reason was super high on Achane coming into the draft. If I'm being completely honest, I'm not like a huge draft guy. But aside from Reason, I don't know if anyone really had huge hopes for a guy like Devon Achane. But seeing that Mike McDaniel was really excited to bring him onto the team, and then seeing what he can do on the team last season in such a limited amount of games, that was really exciting. So having someone that he is feeling this strongly about in Malik Washington makes me feel like something big could possibly be in the works for a guy like Malik Washington.
Yeah, and it makes you think, as soon as you see him getting excited, you see him on once the draft is on and they pan over to Mike McDaniel, whatever recording they have of him getting excited over a player, instantly you got to be excited about that player as well, because it feels like he just knows exactly what he's getting out of these guys, right?
Right.
So he's just licking his chops. He's like, all right, man, I got this guy, and I know exactly what to do with him. So definitely excited about Malik Washington. Another guy that we can be excited about is Jaylen Wright as well, another rookie. It's exciting. This is what I love about preseason, right? Obviously, the games don't matter, but you get to see all these young guys. You kind of get to see that flash right away. You see it with Malik. You'll get to see it with Jaylen Wright, Chop Robinson, Mo Kamara. You know what I'm saying? Maybe some other guys on the outside looking in, like Channing Tindall.
Yeah, so this is like that opportunity for them to make
shine.
these last, the last push and hopefully get a spot on the roster, or maybe even, carve out a little bit of playing time for themselves once the season gets going. So
this is where people make their statement like, hey, look, I deserve to be on this team, or I deserve a big role. So preseason, I know a lot of people hate it. I'm one that loves it. I get to get excited over the players you're not really going to see throughout the season as much, but you get to see a glimpse into the future, right, with these young guys, right?
Yeah, and something about the preseason that's cool too is that, a lot of guys, we've heard this before, like apparently Cameron Wake wasn't a guy that practiced well, but was a game wrecker when it came to the actual game time.
Freak.
So, that same could be said for a lot of guys possibly in the league, that maybe they're just not great when it comes to practice, but put them into a game, maybe a preseason game, and now that's where they can finally make themselves stand out from anybody else. Because
those are what we like to call ballers, right?
Yeah, because if the opposite is true, maybe you practice amazingly, but when it comes to game time, you can't perform, then, whatever you do in practice doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they just, once they step on the field, they have they have that it factor, right? They know where to go to get the ball. On defense, they're always around the ball, surrounding it. On offense, once they get the ball, they know what to do in open space, right? So, this is live tackling. It's people going out there trying to get your head off. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're going for your neck. So it's cool. I definitely, those are a few. I think I want to kind of get into Tindall, right?
Well, before we get into Tindall, it's the preseason. It's obviously you don't play starters very much.
No.
For obvious
Just get
reasons.
the dress rehearsal, which is like a drive or two, right?
Yeah, which at this point, it's the third game of the preseason now where you do a dress rehearsal.
I feel like they do dress rehearsals whenever they want now. I feel like we used to have a better grasp on that.
I think before when there was 4 preseason games, it was third game was dress rehearsal,
last
and then
game was
sit.
just
Now I think it might be either the second or third where people usually do their dress rehearsals.
Yeah.
Either way.
We know what we have on offense.
Well, we know what we have on offense, but what I'm curious to see is our running backs, because we know what we have in Devon and we know what we have in Mostert, and they're most likely not going to see much time in the preseason, but someone who could see a lot more time is going to be a guy like Jaylen Wright, and I have extremely high hopes for him. So it's going to be fun to watch. It's something to look out for to see how Mike McDaniel uses him, and I think that's going to change even more so when the regular season comes, because so many times that we've brought this up already, but Devon possibly taking snaps at receiver, Jaylen Wright being the runner that we think he's going to be in the NFL, at the NFL level. It's going to be different than what maybe most people expect at this point. But now going back to a guy like Tindall, what is this now, his third season?
This will be his third, yeah.
Yeah, so
he's a third-round pick, you know what I'm saying? Like, he flashes – at the combine, he flashed, like, okay, super athletic linebacker that is just a speedster, right? Maybe he can take on that Jerome Baker role, that Jerome had. If he can even be in half of what Jerome Baker was, I think, okay, he's going to make the team, right? But I do want to see him take a step so that we can have a guy like Duke Riley and he can become expendable. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course.
So, I want to see, Channing Tindall take over, possibly have a guy like Duke Riley off the team so we can get those cap savings and all that. And honestly, it kind of leads me into another thing that's really exciting to see, which is this new kickoff rule, right? That we adopted from the XFL. Now special teams more than ever is going to be super important, right? So do you think Duke Riley will make this team, or do you think Channing Tindall might make a push? Or I forget the name of the linebacker, but there's another linebacker that we brought in that is primarily just
Brown
special teams guy. Yeah.
So Duke Riley, I think he's been on the edge of the roster for what seems like forever now.
Yeah, I feel like the last couple of years, I felt like he wasn't going to make the team, but he just sneaks his way on every time, right?
Yeah, he finds a way. But I do see him being somewhat of a cap casualty at some point this offseason. And hopefully it's because Tindall has stepped up so much that he's been able to.
By the way, it's Cameron Brown. I just looked at
Cameron Brown.
Just
hopefully Tindall has stepped up so well that he can replace him. And seeing what Duke Riley has offered, it doesn't seem like that should be too difficult for him to do.
Yeah, it's not.
But I believe that some part of what Tindall had an issue with was grasping
the playbook.
The defense.
Lot like Ezukanma and in his first year.
Yeah,
us,
so
right?
hopefully, because Tindall has all the tools, he has all the athletic ability to be a good linebacker in this league.
That's a guy that I completely, missed on. As soon as we drafted him, it's hard not to get excited about your draft picks, but, with a guy with that flash, that much athleticism, that speed, I instantly thought that he was going to be, it wasn't instant that I thought he was going to be a contributor, but I thought he was going to be something special on this team, right?
I do remember when the Dolphins had drafted Raekwon McMillan.
Oh, yeah.
And
from
then
Ohio State, yeah.
The year after, we drafted Jerome Baker. So Raekwon was the guy that maybe didn't have the most athletic ability, but he had the timing down.
I believe they were drafted the same draft, Joe.
Are you sure? I thought it was the year after.
Let's see. You can keep talking, but let me just look this up.
Anyway, yeah, Raekwon McMillan was an instinctual player, and he was actually the one that many had high hopes for. Jerome Baker we drafted afterwards, and he had more of that athletic ability, and a lot didn't have him. Many people didn't have him being a good linebacker. He ended up being pretty decent for the Dolphins, and was one of the longest tenured Dolphins up until recently. So
yeah, you're right, by the way.
Okay.
2017, 28. So McMillan drafted in 2017, second-round pick, and then Jerome Baker, 2018, third-round pick.
Okay, yeah. So Raekwon was the better linebacker coming in.
Yeah.
And for opposite reasons, they had different attributes. Raekwon was more of the instinctual guy,
You
more of
remember
the
that, though?
traditional linebacker. Jerome was more of the athletic linebacker and possibly couldn't get a grasp on the defense, I believe. And then ends up being that Jerome was the better linebacker out of the two.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure where Raekwon McMillan is at this point in his career anyway.
He was with the Patriots. I don't even know if he's in the NFL anymore, is he?
I think he was on the Raiders, then the Patriots. I don't know. Either way, let's get back to the kickoff, the new kickoff rules, because I'm actually really, really, really excited to see that. It's going to be so different. It's the biggest change in the NFL in a long time. And basically, it's going to make the game safer, but not only safer, in my opinion, we're going to be able to score points a lot easier. And that's always a good thing for the NFL. That's always a good thing for sports in general.
And it's funny because you see the new rules, right? I think this is like a perfect opportunity for a guy like Jaylen Wright, maybe Devon Achane to solidify themselves even more as a super important piece of this team, right? Because I feel like those kickoff rules benefit more, running backs.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
say. So I think Barrios is going to have somewhat of a hard time to make this team, man, especially if they play with that, and maybe get a guy like Devon Achane out there or, our new guy in Jaylen Wright.
Well, so old kickoffs, the way the kickoffs were before, especially for a guy like Barrios, he's a guy with sure hands that could have dealt with the kickoffs because they're not so important at this point anymore. Like, you're not expected to score. If you score, it's like, wow, that was, thank you.
It's
icing on the
few
cake.
and far between now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's more so like, don't fuck it up. Don't do anything stupid.
Yeah.
And that's what Barrios could provide you. And then he added some depth at receiver. But now I think the expectation for kick returns is going to be different. Now I think the expectation is, hey, we're going to need something out of you.
Yeah, now it kind of adds in that specialist again, right?
Yeah.
Like we had Jakeem Grant, which was a punt return specialist for us,
Yeah.
right? But now that's going to be more of a position in the NFL again.
Yeah.
So like it's going to be these guys might even get kind of paid just for doing that one thing great, right?
And it's going to change. It's going to change more than just the returner. The kicks, the guy who's going to be kicking the ball is going to be
Kickers.
different because it's not only going to be kickers kicking the ball now.
Yeah.
So the way that this is changing more than, like I said, just the returners. I believe it's I was going to say Redskins. I believe it's the Commanders. I could be wrong. That are going to be using a corner or a safety as the kicker for these new kickoffs. Because now you add in an extra defender.
You're right.
So it's going to be even easier to score. So now you need to do a better job defending that kickoff.
Well, that's a really good point. You want someone back there that can actually track that guy just in case he leaks out and he's able to run upfield. You got another guy that can potentially get him from behind or,
Yeah, and now
no
so,
Diddy, right? But,
what was that?
get him from behind.
Yeah.
But whatever. Yeah.
And yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah.
I think that the Dolphins, hopefully Mike McDaniel is going to get in on this this creativity and this action here, which why wouldn't he?
You have to think he's going to cook up some fun stuff,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Even
Oh,
though
yeah.
he's not a special teams guy, but this is what he does. He gets creative on offense. So this is kind of like one offensive play, right? You get your guys all in front of you at I believe it's from the 30. You got your guys on the 30 if you're receiving the kick,
And then
the opposing team is on the 40
yeah.
in your territory, right?
Yeah.
So
they're only 10 yards away from each other.
Yeah. So wait, breaking it down really fast. So I think I understand the rules already. So anything from the 20 down to the goal line, right?
Yeah.
In your territory is like the zone that you need to kick the ball in.
Yeah, like that's a good zone to kick the ball into.
Okay. But once it goes into your end zone, you can knee the ball.
If it rolls into the end zone,
It can be a touchback.
it can be a touchback, and then the offense takes the ball at the 35?
35-yard line. I
Yeah.
think it's a 35-yard line. And then if it rolls out of bounds.
No, I think that's at the 20. Okay, yeah. So if the ball rolls into the end zone, the offense takes the ball into the offense takes the ball from the 20.
Okay.
If the ball is kicked in the air into the end zone and it's caught in the end zone,
You get it at the 35.
you get it at the 35.
If it rolls out of bounds in the zone,
You get it at the 40. Yeah.
Okay.
So
And yeah.
so much more opportunities to score. The offense is already
Oh, but if the team also kicks the ball into the zone, the opposing team, and you catch it in the zone, you can't kneel the ball. Like there's no touchback.
No, you have to take
You
it.
have to take it out.
Yeah.
So interesting. I think it's really cool. It's gonna take a little bit to understand it. I'm still a little bit shaky with the rules there, but
Yeah, it'll start coming to us much the
yeah.
more we watch it.
after a game, it's gonna be
Yeah.
easy to understand.
But that's I think for every NFL fan, that's probably the most interesting thing going into this season and
Yeah.
how much this is actually going to be affecting the game. Because given how much easier it is to score on on offense, on kick returns, that's going to change the game completely.
Well, first of all, it makes the game safer, right? If
That's
you are
another
going
thing,
to take, so it's going to eliminate essentially concussions, which was a big part of the game, right? Kick returns, I think it was like 20% of kick returns.
6%. No,
20% of concussions in the NFL were
Came-
from kick returns.
Right.
Right? So that you're kind of essentially eliminating that. I think the XFL did numbers and it was like 0, right? Zero
Yeah,
concussions off of
something
kick
like that.
returns off of this rule, which is awesome. And it just adds a different dynamic to the game. Now kick returns are going to be fun.
Yeah, man, I agree. I think this is the funnest thing the NFL has done in a while. So it's going to be interesting to watch for sure. But who do you think at this point? Who do you think is the best choice for kick returns on the Dolphins right now?
Man, we have so many though. I honestly, so look, you got Jaylen Waddle, which used to do this for Alabama, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he was damn good at it. You got Tyreek Hill. Obviously, that's the guy you want with the ball in their hands. But if I want to reserve them for our offense, obviously, you don't want to, God forbid, some type of injury. So I would say Devon Achane and Jaylen Wright right now, in my opinion. Maybe Malik Washington. I know it's a little strange because he doesn't really do kick returns and all that, but he just seems like a guy when he has the ball in his hands, he knows what to do with it. Braxton Berrios, to be honest with you, I'm not extremely excited about him doing it. I know he has been decent in the NFL, but that's all he is decent. He doesn't flash, So what were you going to say?
From a video we were watching earlier, and it was a really good video. I'll see if I can link that up to the top because he did a really good job breaking this down. He actually said that the athletic ability wouldn't be so important. It's more about just hitting the hole and a very well designed play, creativity.
Yeah, that's exactly why, with hitting the hole,
You want a running back.
Yeah, I'm saying running backs for that
But
specific
then again,
reason. With
Braxton
running backs
Berrios-
with elite speed. Like, dude, these guys have tremendous breakaway speed. But what were you saying?
yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I would want to go with Devon. I don't know if I would want to go with Jaylen Wright. I do want to. I kind
You
of
don't
want to
wanna risk.
reserve them for
Yeah.
offense.
I get that.
Raheem is going to be our running back,
But-
maybe
but-
it would be between those two guys. One of them would
Here's
take
the
on that
thing
role.
with that new kickoff, it's going to be such an important piece of the game now. So,
Yeah.
I understand we don't want to risk injury, but shit, if they take it to the house, that's 7 points, right?
Right.
6, obviously with an extra 0.7, but man, it's pretty important. So you might want your best guys with their hands on the ball at that point, right?
Yeah,
Maybe
that
going
is a
into
good
the
point.
third quarter, maybe more situational, right? Third quarter, you're down a couple touchdowns. Yo, Devon, get in there and take this kick return,
Yeah, I can definitely see that happening this
Yeah.
year around every single NFL team. Like third quarter, fourth quarter, you're down by a couple. Like, all right, let's throw in our best guys out there. Where
Yeah.
in years past, the game would have to be of huge significance to see something like that happen. Like for us to do that with Tyreek at this point, like it has to be something drastic.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to lose these guys to injury. And those in years past, it's a high chance.
Another thing to be extremely excited about. This is more of like the aesthetic of it. The team is seeing all the new guys in their new uniforms, man. Like OBJ, Jonnu Smith,
Calais Campbell,
Shaq Barrett,
Marcus May,
Chop Robinson,
Jordan Poyer.
He can go. The list goes on, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I've always found it fun. I remember, getting Tyreek Hill in that first preseason game, seeing him in the uniform out there on the team, with that logo on, with those colors on.
It doesn't hit you until they're actually in uniform.
Yeah. It's crazy now. Tyreek Hill is just a Dolphin in my mind, right? It's not like anything crazy
now
anymore.
Now we're used to it. But yeah, it's going to be cool to see what kind of swag they're going to have, what kind of drip, these guys come out with.
Yeah, I want to see Jody Fortson because he dresses really cool, right?
Jody Fortson, who is the swaggiest player on the Dolphins? Who's got the most drip on the Dolphins? You guys answer in the comments. But we got OBJ up in the running. Jordan Poyer. Jody
Jalen
Fortson.
Ramsey.
Jalen Ramsey.
Javon Holland.
I think it has to be between those guys.
Tyreek Hill's got some of those. He got a little swag. Sometimes,
he's kind of laid off that. He had more drip in Kansas City.
Yeah, I guess now he's more like, all right, Tyreek Hill is the main attraction now. I think he was trying to stick out a little bit more in Kansas City.
Jaylen Waddle, I think, he's up there. He does
drip.
Yeah, he does his thing. His thing. I like his when he's in the aqua. He gets his orange cleats on. He gets the sleeve.
It looks like he's going back to his his Bama days, his rookie season with growing out his hair. I think that's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool too.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Enough about that, right? Another guy I want to see. It's kind of like we're rambling because we've talked about these things, but Cam Smith. I want to see what he can do in his second, go at preseason.
Well, yeah, he's gonna be one of those guys that's gonna see a lot of time in preseason.
Throw him into the fire, like see if he grasps this whole defense. See if he's talented enough to make his own adjustments on the field as well. I think he's a guy that's extremely talented. I think the sky is the limit for that kind of player. It's just if he can get his mind right?
Well, the reality is that the preseason is not for guys that have jobs. It's guys looking for jobs.
Exactly.
So that's why we're going to see some Cam Smith, some Tindall. We're going to see Ezukanma, Storm Duck. Super cool name. He probably makes the roster just because of the name, honestly.
Well, we also need at least one UDFA. It's always a thing, right, with the Dolphins. So
my vote's him. Storm Duck.
Storm Duck. Yeah.